Hey everyone, it's Amy Sherman from MLive, Michigan's Best. We've had an exciting week in the restaurant industry in Michigan with Governor Gretchen Whitmer announcing the reopening of the UP in northern lower Michigan. And one of the busiest guys in the state, Justin Winslow from the Michigan Restaurant Lodging Association, is with us now to talk about some of the reactions and responses to this big news. Welcome, Justin.
Hey, Amy, glad to be with you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, you've had a lot of opportunities this week, lots of media appearances. We seem to see you everywhere sharing the message of Michigan restaurants. Now, for those who don't know, let's talk a little bit first about your group, the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, because you've undergone some changes in the last few years.
Sure. We are the statewide trade association for what we call the greater hospitality industry, restaurants and hotels, and even the tourism side of the equation, our CVB partners as well. We're a little over 5,000 members. And last year, you're right, we underwent a merger of what was the statewide lodging association and our existing restaurant association into this. And we just believe we're a stronger voice, united for the voice of hospitality.
Well, you certainly have had to be a voice for hospitality over the last 9-10 weeks, right? What has this been like trying to navigate this for your organization? And I'm sure for many of your members who are also friends.
Yeah, I'd be lying to say if it wasn't a challenge and there were some hard times, but I think we're all kind of experiencing some hard times right now. Nothing is exactly as it has been or has been normal or easy. The hardest part is that you're right. You know these people and you know how much their businesses mean to them. That, you know, in the hospitality industry, these operations run like families more often than not. And it's a very tight-knit community. And so when this disruption happened, and so abruptly, so quickly, it's been really hard, obviously financially, but emotionally and spiritually, frankly, for these operators as well. So I'm trying to be part psychologist, part association executive, and all with this singularly focused goal of trying to get restaurants that opportunity to reopen their business and make sure they can do so safely.
Well, and that's the biggest question out there. As this announcement came down, the governor has given people 4 days to reopen. Now, again, they don't have to reopen. This is their choice, right?
That's right.
And it is only the 17 counties in northern lower Michigan and then the UP that are allowed to do this. So, but it's really put restaurateurs in a tough spot as much as they want to open. 4 days is a really short schedule to then open for Memorial Weekend. Talk to me about what you're hearing out there in the field about this.
Yeah, I think I've been using almost by the hour the term "we can't make perfect the enemy of the good" anymore, right? It would be ideal had restaurants had a little more leeway because the supply chain is pretty complicated and it's been disrupted in its own right lately. And so a little more time might have made some more sense, but the health data is changing. The facts on the ground are all changing rapidly. And so when you see the opportunity, you take it when you can get it. And I think that's what this industry is going to try to do. And frankly, the customers that are ready to come back, I think are giving a little bit of leeway. They understand that everything's not going to be exactly to the level. The menu might not be as diverse as it was before this experience. And you're certainly not going to have probably the entirety of a workforce all back on site. So I think there's going to be some room for error as everyone's trying to figure out what this new normal looks like.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a normal anyway. From the restaurateurs I've been talking to, they have a lot of concern over lack of guidance, confusion over the new rules. I know that you guys have a lot of really great information up on your site. What's your recommendation to those who are struggling to try to make heads or tail of what they should be doing?
Yeah, reach out to us. We're also trying to figure it out on the fly as well, but have a lot of really well-trained staff who are focused only on this, only on the idea of how to reopen safely. We did put some pretty comprehensive guidance out at mrla.org/open a little bit a week and a half ago, 26 pages of guidance on how to reopen, best practices, and then how to follow the governor's executive order specifically. So there's going to be a lot of hurdles to jump through. I think that's incumbent when you're trying to demonstrate to the consumer, the general public, that you do know how to operate safely. You can keep your guests safe. You can keep your employees safe. But it's going to be a lot to take in a short amount of time. You're right.
That's for sure. I rolled through some of those 26 pages, and I do not envy my restaurant friends who are going to have to do this. One of the things that really stood out to me, though, was, and I've been thinking a lot about this, is the rehiring of staff. One, for some of these guys, it's going to be hard to find their staff within 4 days if they need them, especially summer staff. But then when you're putting that staff back together, looking at those regulations, it's almost like you're going to be hiring all new positions. Like there's the COVID organizer who has to be the lead for the restaurant, right? And then all the way down to someone to possibly monitor the bathroom and make sure people are social distancing, in there on a crowded night. So what about that? What about the whole change of the employment kind of structure for restaurants?
Yeah, I think the workforce is going to have to change to meet the new demands of the time. They're going to be working on this in the fly. You might see a slightly few less servers on the floor, and then those people reposition to some of the safety first oriented positions, as you talked about, to ensure that social distancing can be maintained, that you have someone at each location that can be your lead on all things COVID, because that's going to be critical. As we do know, the new executive order requires a plan out there by June 1st that the public can see, that your employees can see that it's relevant and that you're doing all the appropriate measures to keep them and your guests safe. So that's going to be a big focus on what the guidance we're leading on for our members between now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to need a lot of guidance on that, I think. Now, talk to me about with the social distancing in place and with 50% capacity is what's being requested. Is that viable for restaurants to continue to be in business with that type of capacity? And I know it's probably different across the board depending on the restaurant.
Yeah, perfect, not the enemy of the good, right? It's probably not going to get them, at least in the immediate future, to where their revenues were before, but allows them to ramp themselves back up over a period of time. I think carry out and delivery that many businesses have either taken on for the first time or really ramped up to a new degree over the last couple months are just going to be a consistent part of the future. Right, that's going to be a part of this industry to a greater degree than it was before. Whether you're a small independent, mom and pop, or you're a chain, this is just part of, I think, what the new reality is going to look like. So between limited capacity in their dining, and then I think all local governments and the amount of connectivity this quickly in terms of finding ways to expand outside in the summer months into broader patios, onto street fronts is going to be great. The cities, and you heard this from the mayor of Traverse City yesterday at the press conference, talking about closing down Front Street, that sort of main downtown street where all the restaurants and shops are, to essentially expand your square footage because you need it for the capacity. I think that's going to be helpful, and you're going to see a lot of. My heart has been warmed, frankly, by the level of interest and support from all kinds of different entities to help see this industry be successful going forward.
That's really good to hear. That was actually one of my questions to ask. What is your organization doing to maybe change some of these rules or laws in local cities? I mean, I know you do a lot of lobbying. Is this something that you're going to be working with the localities to maybe create these special dining spaces, maybe to extend liquor licenses beyond the usual rules? Like, what's your role going to be in that, playing in that?
Yeah, we've been really involved with, for one, the Liquor Control Commission, and they've been really a great partner to work with. I think today, specifically Tuesday, they will be releasing their plan for an expedited patio program, really streamlining that process. And so those restaurants that already are operating have a chance to open up a patio for the first time or get their existing patio open quicker and easier. And then I believe there's going to be some more statewide guidance in the not too distant future that is going to be following and encouraging what you're seeing from Traverse City. The city of Birmingham is really doing a good job of finding new creative ways to put public space to use in a good way for this industry. So I think look for more of that guidance because we've been having a lot of communications with the state to that end.
That's good to hear. And you may be the only person in the restaurant industry who said it's easy to work with the MLCC.
Crazy times. Anything's possible.
They're finally coming around. I love it.
That's true.
One of the parts of the restaurant industry that's very close to my heart are the employees, which I know they are to you too. What are some of the things that you guys are working on to either protect employees, to make sure that they're safe, to work on things like sick leave or higher pay to encourage them to come back to work? Because these are some issues that are very immediate for the staff of these restaurants.
Well, first, let me give a shout out to MLive and say thank you for your partnership when we had a week-long sort of virtual telethon raising money for the Hospitality Employee Relief Fund, right? When 350,000 plus employees in this industry almost overnight are laid off, many of which without substantial cash in the bank to get them through this period. This is what's been helpful, right? We've been able to get out over 1,000 individual checks to help people make a rent payment, make a car payment. And the money that we raised through this MLive platform was huge. Not to mention bringing in stars like Tim Allen and several others. It was a fun week.
John Gonzalez.
Gonzo was amazing as a host all 5 days. He also has a world-class beer fridge, by the way. Let it be known.
Oh, please. Half those beers I brought him.
I love it. But to that point as well, one thing that we found really interesting is working with the state of Michigan on this work-share program, which allows restaurants to find a way to bring back their employees at a portion of a time that they used to, because maybe they don't yet have the need for a full-time employee where they did before. An employee can come back, earn the income that they would earn at, let's say, 50% of their previous hours, have the unemployment insurance agency pick up the other half, offering benefits, and they don't sacrifice that special federal supplemental uninsurance of $600 a week that's going on right now. That's the kicker. That's the driver, that you have the best of all worlds. You get that one-time money you're going to get from the federal government, and more job security that, when we move back to what we're hoping is the new normal, right? That they have more job security than they might otherwise. So that's something we're working towards. On the paid sick leave front, I think there's going to be a new world in front of us. And restaurateurs are going to have to find a way. It's hard on the small independent side, and it will not be easy coming out of this, but there needs to be a conversation towards that. And Michigan is already one of only 10 states in the nation that has a mandate on the books right now for paid sick leave. And I don't think that discussion is going away. That's
good to hear. Very good to hear. Interesting. Because that's one of my things is like, why would I, if I'm a dishwasher, if I'm a line cook, why am I going to go back to work?
Yeah.
I can make more money, at least until July 31st. I can make more money, even though I know that all those guys want to work. They're workers. That's the thing. It's just,
I know.
Yeah, that's a hard one to kind of figure out. So what has been the response that you've seen from people in the UP and in Northern Michigan about the reopening? I'm sure you've heard many positive things from restaurant owners. Have you heard any negative ones about people who maybe don't want to see tourists arriving in the UP?
Not from our industry cohorts. They're so giddy. Whether you're even in one of these two regions or not, the industry, just that there's a sense of hope that a deadline has been set, and we know that a portion of the state's going to open, gives hope for all of those hanging on right now that something is coming for them as well. But for the immediate operators, there's also a little bit of anxiety. You haven't dealt with customers inside. You've got a whole lot of hoops to jump through now to make sure you do this right. And as we talked about, in a short amount of time. So there's a little bit of nervousness, but it's kind of like that first day back at school kind of nervousness. You're excited as well.
That's kind of what I've heard. Is there's a lot of excitement. There's some trepidation. There's an utmost sense of caution. And I would stress to everyone that everyone I've talked to, restaurants are already in the business of sanitation, in addition to hospitality. And so they are taking this with an overabundance of caution. And really, what I've seen and heard is that they're going to open very slowly and safely to make sure that they have everything in place that they possibly can.
I mean, that's been our guidance. And I said this yesterday when I had the opportunity to speak with the governor on stage at the press conference, was whether it's fair or not, these restaurants have the big responsibility of setting the stage for the rest of the state. And it's a lot of responsibility because there's a lot of people south of them hoping to be able to open as well in the near future. So how they choose to operate their restaurants, and we hope it's safely, wear the mask, make sure you socially distance, make sure you're checking your staff and in advance of each shift so they're properly, so that no one's spreading any type of symptoms, right? As well. Follow the guidance and try to operate safely. And you're right, slow is probably better than going 0 to 60 like that. So we're hopeful, but we've been trying to provide as much guidance to those members as we can this week.
Yeah, you guys have been doing a great job on that. Justin, what do you see happening next? What do you feel another certain region will open, or do you think that it'll be the rest of the state all at once coming on June or May 28th?
I think that's the multi-million-dollar, maybe billion-dollar question.
I'm running my own lottery here. Come on.
I think the regional approach has worked. And so I do think you're going to see some more opportunity for more regions that have demonstrated that the curve has definitely been bent, that they're on the right side of still a very difficult and challenging situation. But so I do anticipate some more openings in the not too distant future, whether that's statewide in a similar fashion as what we see up north right now or not. I think it's still to be determined, and it should be. There are going to be people who are making decisions based on the data that's been right in front of them.
Right, and every region in Michigan is for sure different.
Yeah.
Hey, if people do need more information about how to open safely and to get that set of guidelines that the Michigan Restaurant Lodging Association put together, where should they go?
mrla.org/open. Awesome.
Justin, thank you so much for joining us and all this great information for our restaurant partners.
Anytime. Thanks, Amy.
All right, Justin Winslow from the Michigan Restaurant Association, Lodging Association. We appreciate it. If you want more information, head to MLive.com.